After all this tedious work, I am finally at the step you have been waiting for: analysis. Here's my final spreadsheet for HerbalDoc. You can see that it is rather colorful. Doing this helps me determine patterns and makes analyzing each keyword a lot easier. With so much data, it is easy to feel overwhelmed. To overcome this data overload, I have assigned a color value. To create this visual feast, I used conditional formatting and created a new rule. I formatted most of my columns with a 3-color rule. I say most because with the columns where I only used ones and zeros to represent data, I created a 2-color scale instead. With a 3-color scale, green equals good, yellow equals average, and red equals bad. On a 2-color scale, I just leave out the yellow. It's important that when you create the new rule in conditional formatting that you are highlighting all the columns that are being compared against each other. For example, if you are analyzing the page authority, you will want to highlight the PA column for all 3 competitors. If you do it separately, the value colors will be different, because the column for all competitor 1s may have a low of 51%, whereas the row for all competitor 3s have a low of 21%. Finally, you may have noticed that I have an additional column that I didn't have while compiling the data. The type column shows what type of keyword I'm looking at. Head keywords are a 1, long tail are a 2, and objective keywords are a 3. I've extracted the keywords I've been using as my Google example and shrunk down some of the fields so that I can display all 3 competitors. With Google, I heavily looked at whether brands are ranking in the top position or not. We can see that only the 3rd competitor is not considered a brand. In fact, the page authority, domain authority, and unique root domains are considerably low. The only real advantage that this competitor has is the on-page SEO, which is easier to beat out than the other metrics. Looking at the metrics on the other 2 competitors, it doesn't seem realistic to take the 1st or 2nd position in Google. So now the question lies on whether I'm fine going after the 3rd position for this keyword, which I'm going to have to consider. For Bing, the first thing I do is to take a quick glance at the In Google row. With this keyword, I find that the 2nd competitor is not found in Google for the top 100 results on this keyword. Most likely, this means that for some reason this competitor was penalized for breaking Google's rules. Often this penalty is around link building, and now I need to decide whether I want to compete with this site. If the other 2 competitors were relatively easy to beat, I might still consider the keyword. However, when I look at both, I see that links are in the hundreds of thousands, and in the case of the 3rd competitor, I see millions of links. Due to this, I've decided to opt out for going after this keyword in Bing.